And speaking of the war, Mr. Adams, what did you do after completing high school? Did you go into the military?
I had a choice. They were breathing down my neck. And I saw them come into my classroom and take the Asian students out with fixed bayonets. And I had a choice of being drafted, so I volunteered because I went to the Navy. They would not accept me except for anything except a mess boy. I went to the Marines. They wouldn't even speak to me for anything. The Air Force had an experimental group in Tuskegee, and they accepted me for that. And I went to Tuskegee with the 332nd Fighter Group. I was actually in the 100th Fighter Squadron. And I went there, and I tried to get in cadet training, but I was a little young, and they were being very picky. And they said that my eyes were not up to standards. My eyesight wasn't good enough. And yet and still in my pocket right now I'm carrying an airman certificate, commercial pilot's license, multi-engine, land instrument rated.
You are now a licensed pilot.
And I'm 80 years old.
Yes.
And there I was 18, so my eyes got better with age, you know.
Yes, exactly.
So it was one of those things.
Did you ever, the 332nd Fighter Group, wasn't that also part of the Tuskegee Airmen?
That was the Tuskegee
Oh,
Airmen.
that was.
It started off with the 99th Pursuit Squadron.
Yes.
And they started off, I believe, in Chanute Field, Illinois. They went to Tuskegee, and they built other units and made it a squadron.
I see.
The 99th went overseas first. The 332nd went over later. B.O. Davis Jr. became the commanding officer of all of them. I didn't go overseas with them. I came to Los Angeles and did Armed Forces Radio. That was the turning point. That's where Mrs. Roosevelt came down and flew with one of the lieutenants down there and got national attention.
to prove how
Yes.
qualified these airmen
Yes.
were. Yes.
I was down there when Dr. George Washington Carver passed. I went to his funeral. It was, Tuskegee had one light in the middle of the street. I had never been out of Los Angeles, and another young man and myself, we got off the train. We changed trains in Birmingham, and we got on a train that was going to Cheehaw, Alabama, if you'll pardon the expression. And we had been treated royally here at the Presidio of Monterey in San Francisco before we got on this train to go to Alabama. And the whole world just kind of turned over. And
As you went south.
that's right.
Yes.
And we got off the train in Cheehaw about 1 o'clock in the morning. Nobody there had ever heard of lights. And the base was approximately 5 miles from the train. Well, I'll call it a train station. It was like a little general store. It was a gas station. It had one pump, the kind you pump like that, and had some cornflakes on the shelf. It was closed. And that was it. And a dirt road. And we started down this dirt road, walking very briskly, and a little more briskly. Pretty soon we were in a trot to get to the base. And when we got to the base, we kissed the ground because we didn't know where we were. You couldn't see anything. Literally, you couldn't see the hand in front of your face.
How
and we weren't
frightening
sure
that-
it was our
oh.
hand. So we moved very rapidly.
Yes.
And we got there, and I stayed on the base. I didn't come off the base for About 5 months. And then I went into Tuskegee one afternoon and came back. Stayed on the base till we went to Selfridgefield, Michigan.
And why did you leave the military? I understand that you left at an early age.
I left, a prop kicked back and hit me in the groin. And
Propeller?
yes.
Ah.
And gave me hematuria of the bladder, bleeding of the bladder.
Yes,
and
yes.
I was released on a medical discharge.
I see.